Hi friends, welcome back. I'm Elaine and I'm living with autoimmune disease. I recently heard on a rheumatology podcast our rheumatologist talking about biosimilars. And I thought, if our rheumatologists are talking about biosimilars, we should too. Yes, I am so geeky that I listen to rheumatology podcasts. And these podcasts are geared towards rheumatologists and advancements in rheumatology care. If you're curious about which podcast in particular that I heard this on, it was Rheum Now by Dr. Jack Cush. And during my most recent experience with Rituxan, I shared with you all that my Rituxan had been switched to a biosimilar called Truxima. Let's start with saying I'm a patient. I am not a doctor. I have no medical training. So what I'm about to share with you is pretty much what I have learned and my own experience with biosimilars. I want to share this in case you are being switched to a biosimilar or maybe about to start a biosimilar and you feel a bit timid about a biosimilar versus the brand name drug. During my infusion of Rituxan, Truxima, I shared a little bit about what I thought a biosimilar was. And I wasn't particularly clear at that time, and I've done some research. And what I learned is a biosimilar is not a generic of the drug. It is a similar biologic. We are on biologics for our autoimmune disease. Many of you know brand names like Humira and Enbrel and Actemra and Remicade. These are brand names of drugs. But each of those drugs has a biosimilar that we don't hear much about. So each brand name drug has a patent. And when that patent expires, a biosimilar can be developed, and the biosimilar has to go through FDA approval just like any other drug. And when I say drug, I mean prescription. You know, you're following. A biosimilar uses the same active ingredients, the same method of delivery, and the same dosage, as far as I understand. So most of you know that Humira and Enbrel are injectables, and its biosimilar is also an injectable. Remicade is an infusion, and its biosimilar is also an infusion. So the delivery method of a biosimilar is exactly the same way that the brand name drug would be delivered. For me, my Rituxan is an infusion and the Truxima is also an infusion. And they both take the same duration of time because they're the same dose. So the biosimilar has the same active ingredients, the same kind of biologic functions. And if you want to nerd out and learn more about this, I'll link you an article down below in case you want to dive deeper into the subject, because I'm really giving you the Elaine notes of it. It is not a generic, it's not an exact copy of the drug. So I think what I used before in my Rituxan video was that it was like Tylenol and acetaminophen. So not completely accurate, but along those lines. So we're seeing these biosimilars pop up for things like rheumatoid arthritis, psoriatic arthritis, and inflammatory bowel disease. And the reason they're particularly helpful to patients like me is because they are more cost effective than the brand name drugs. So many of us know that the brand name drugs of biologics are extremely expensive, and insurance can drag their feet on approval of them because they'll want you to try something else before you try that drug. And it's mainly because of cost, right? So the biosimilars that are coming out are a fraction of the cost of the name brand drugs. That's good for patients because now we can semi-afford medications that maybe were unreachable before. But yeah, if you're thinking it saves the insurance company money, yeah, it does. But it's also easier for our providers to get these biosimilars approved through the insurance company so that we can try these medications. Now, if you're like me, I hate changing medications. Even when things are not working properly, I hate changing medications because I know what I have, but I don't know what I'm gonna get. And that makes me really apprehensive. So when I knew I had to change from Rituxan to Truxima, it made me feel that uneasiness in my stomach because I was thinking, how do I know this is gonna work? How do I know I'm not gonna have a reaction to this? How do I know it's gonna be the same as what I was on before? all these questions because I didn't really know about biosimilars, and it made me extremely uneasy. I am a rheumatoid arthritis patient that has actually seen new drugs come out as I've been on my journey and tried new things. So a biosimilar to me was kind of a foreign concept. And honestly, I knew something was up because I quit seeing so many like commercials on TV for Enbrel, Humira, that kind of thing. Do you remember we used to always see those commercials on TV, at least if you're in the United States? We'd see the person building a playground. Well, you don't see those anymore. You know why? Because there's biosimilars. Okay, so why the nurse hung up the bag for Truxima, I let all those little voices in my head go on that, how is this gonna work? Is it gonna work the same? Does Dr. Rheumatologist have faith in this? I mean, I trust him, so should I trust that he knows that the biosimilar is gonna work just as well? All these thoughts going through my head. And my experience with the biosimilar was actually just the same as Rituxan. It ran exactly the same amount of time. I had the same side effects, sort of felt a little bit more wiped out. But I also have to say that I have things going on now that I didn't have during my last infusion. So a little more tired could be the fact that I was vitamin C deficient, or that I haven't been keeping up with my B12 injections like I'm supposed to. All those reactions I had worked out with Rituxan before, I didn't have with Truxima, so obviously everything was just similar. My body accepted it just the way it would accept Rituxan. And I have noticed no difference between Rituxan and Truxima. In fact, we were able to speed up the time of the infusion this time, and maybe that was because my body accepted Truxima better. I don't know. I'm going out on a limb here, but maybe. So I was thinking about if you are a patient and your doctor is switching you to a biosimilar or starting you on a biosimilar, like what kind of questions maybe you could ask them to help you understand the comparison with the brand name drug. And I was thinking that some of the questions that I might ask, and did ask actually, is how many other patients have you switched from the brand name drug to the biosimilar? How those patients are doing? Have you seen any adverse reactions or side effects from switching a person from the brand name drug to the biosimilar? Do you find that the insurance company is more apt to send through the authorization quicker with this biosimilar? And lastly, I think asking your rheumatologist how much faith they have in the biosimilar compared to the brand name drug is totally okay. When we start medication or when we're switched on medication, we should feel comfortable with that switch or that start. And if that means asking 100 questions to your specialist, your rheumatologist, your gastroenterologist, whoever's prescribing dermatology, whoever's prescribing the medication, then so be it. Because you should feel comfortable with what your plan of action is for getting you back to better health. So I'm curious how many of you are using biosimilars too. For me, Truxima is the first biosimilar I've ever used. If you're using a biosimilar, leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you're using and what it's a biosimilar for and what condition you have. If you're curious about the podcast that I heard this in, I'll leave you a link to that down below. And if you're here because you want to know about my experience with Truxima, I'll leave you a link down below to my Rituxan experience. The actual title of the video is Rituxan, but the drug they're infusing is Truxima, which is the biosimilar. Hopefully this was helpful. I thought maybe we could talk about this amongst ourselves since our rheumatologists are talking about it. If you have questions about biosimilars or how they work in your journey, definitely talk to your doctor. Maybe they'll be surprised that you know the difference between a biosimilar and biologic brand name. Do you guys like learning about the stuff that our rheumatologists are talking about? Because if you do, I can kind of incorporate more of these kind of talks and chats because I am listening to these podcasts. So maybe I can just be a fly on the wall for them and then come back and tell you all what they're talking about. If you like this idea, let me know and I can do more of this kind of stuff. Thank you for being here. If you haven't yet subscribed and you'd like to come along on my adventure, I would love to have you. The more friends, the more better. Please hit the subscribe button. It's absolutely free. It's not a membership. It's a free thing. I'm sending you all extra spoons, and until my next adventure, go have yours.